Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome back to the podcast. This is the second part of the first podcast I did on the topic of personal success and how to define it for yourself. So I've had some questions come in as to what the purpose is of redefining success for yourself, because it's almost like, well, now I'm here and now I know what personal success means to me, but how do I actually apply this in my daily life? How do I get from this being a theoretical thing to applying it, making this my reality? Because I get what you're saying, Stephanie. It's like I can feel more successful when I measure success based on my own parameters, but I still feel like I'm failing, I'm still not getting the money. I'm still not doing what I want to do, although I know what I want to do. Okay, so I hear you. So we're going to go a little bit deeper into this in this episode. So why it is so important for you to first of all understand what success means to you is that you can get into the energy of feeling successful. Because let me tell you, you can be as successful as you want if you don't feel successful, if it's not aligned with what makes you feel good. You can be successful as fuck and you're still not going to feel it. Okay, you might see it reflected back in your bank account. You might have, you can buy a lot of shiny things, or you can go on vacation, you can have like luxury vacations, whatever, but you still don't really feel successful. You might have it, but it doesn't mean that you feel fulfilled, because success is also about being fulfilled, at least for me personally. And if you're still here listening, I think it's the same for you. So the most important thing is to feel successful, to feel into the energy of success first. Because again, otherwise you can do everything right. I'm saying right in quotation marks, because apparently you did it right based on somebody else's definition of right. So that's why it is so important that you get clear on what seems right for you, so that when you start taking action based on that energy that you're in, that it also can start to reflect back to you in the physical and match the internal state. And that's when you get where you want to go. When you're feeling successful, happy and fulfilled inside, and then the outer world will reflect it back to you. So, all right, back to, okay, how do I get this to be reflected back to me? It's being really clear on what you want to achieve and why you want to achieve that. Sometimes we have to dig really deep to find the real motivation for our desires. And often the first motivations that come up, that they aren't serving us. They're still serving somebody else's agenda. And you're still trying to make somebody else happy to earn their love. Because in the end, it's all about being loved. So you have to be really honest with yourself. And you have to dig really deep to understand what it is, what your soul wants. What do you really want deep down inside? And not, what do I want so that when I have it, whatever conditional consequence is going to give me something that I want, if that makes sense, No, it's more like, what would make my soul really happy? And that's why it's so important to do this work in the first part really deeply and seriously, and being honest with yourself. And it's going to be trial and error. You're probably not going to figure it out on the first try. This is a process. So stand up, you walk, you fall down. You stand up again, you walk, you fall down again, and you're standing up again. And until you know where you're actually walking. So, but yeah, I want to come back to the how do I get it into my physical. So when you know what success or happiness means to you, and when you're really clear on that, you're going to start taking different action. In my case, it was, okay, I was trying to have the money come in to make me feel successful. And I was doing the wrong steps, right? I was doing things with the motivation to get money into my bank account so that then I would have a feeling of success. And that's the wrong motivation. Hence, I had to become really clear on my success parameters so that I then could start taking different action from a different energy and with a different motivation. So once I knew what I wanted my days to look like, I realized that I can't be on like a very tight schedule of content creation, or that I can't like have people book calls with me 5 days or 7 days a week. Like I used to have my calendar open for 7 days a week bookings. I'm like, that's crazy because I should actually block off some time to have time to myself, to keep having these days that make me feel really good so that I keep going with that flow. But I could only start changing the actions around what I was doing when I was clear with what I wanted to achieve. And not necessarily achieve as in results, but achieve in how I wanted to feel. So once you have your list of how your successful day looks like, you have to check where you can start making changes to get closer to a life that supports your ideal day. And identify whatever isn't serving you. And my recommendation is to start eliminating what isn't serving your definition of success, your ideal day, whatever, step by step, and then start introducing new things that actually support that. For me, it's more like, I'm going to give you a very hands-on example. For me, it's less content creation on the spot. It's more like creating podcasts. It's less Instagram, it's more like podcasts and videos, because I want to share my information, but I don't want to be slave of an algorithm, and I don't want to be slave of like a consistent schedule, because that bores me out, and then I'm not happy, and then I don't feel successful. Then I have to fit stuff into my day that's gonna make me feel like a slave, and when I feel like a slave, I feel very unhappy. And everything flows into your creations. So the happier you are, the better your creations are, and the energy is going to be different. So I had to find a way to get my messages out there without being too much restricted in my day. So podcasting is a really good way for me, because I don't have to, it's a really good example. I don't have to look for the ideal light. I don't have to make sure the background is perfect, because I travel a lot, so I'm always in different places. All I need is a quiet place. Podcasting really supports the lifestyle I want to live. But to come to this understanding, I had to become clear on what my successful day looked like, so that then I can start planning action steps based on that. So this should be your center. And before that, it wasn't my center. Before that, I was like focused a lot on Instagram, like everyone else does, because I felt like it works for everybody, so it has to work for me. We pick something that doesn't align with our true nature, but we pick it because we've been conditioned into believing that's what we have to do, or it's just what we see other people doing, and then we think that's how it is done. Completely neglecting that we're all individual beings that respond differently and that have different preferences and needs. But again, you work with the energy. So if something makes you feel like you have to do it because for whatever reason, and it's not feeling successful to you, and it doesn't feel good to you, that's going to be reflected back to you. So it's not so much about what you do, it's more like, does it serve the best version of yourself? And you define what the best version of yourself looks like. For somebody else, it might be to be on a very regular schedule, you know? Someone might want something where they can work from 8 to 12 and 2 to 4, whatever. I'm just saying something. For me, this will be like the worst. But for someone else, this is what's serving them, and that's okay. It's about what's serving you, and then planning your life around it, not the other way around. I think what we try to do a lot is we pick something and then we plan ourselves and we scatter ourselves around it to make it work, when in truth it should be the other way around. You get to say what you want, and then you start planning and organizing things accordingly. But it takes a lot of courage, because we are not really taught to do that. We're still being programmed to work from the outside in instead of the inside out. Instead of what do I want, is like, no, that's how it is done. And you just have to accommodate yourself to it. You just have to fit in. That's your shape, you have to fit in. But in truth, it's the other way around. You define the shape. You are the shape. So I hope this answers some questions, like to just keep this, again, very short and summarize the essence of this is the reason why you have to do the groundwork really detailed and profoundly is to then start building whatever that it is that you want to build around it. Because you don't want to build it more than once, right? So it's like building a house. Have the foundation right, you will never have to go back to it. But if you're sloppy and rushing when it comes to your foundations, that house will not be on a solid ground. And the more you become clear on your own definition of success and happiness, or whatever that it is in your life that you want to achieve, that you feel limited by other people or society or whatever it is, the more you free yourself from the restrictions and the limitations that those projections or ideas have on you. Because in the end, no one can tell you, no one has authority over how you feel unless you give it to them. So it's time to take your power back and define certain aspects or all aspects of your life for yourself. Because as long as you measure it against somebody else's ideal that isn't matching yours, it's going to be really hard to achieve that success, to achieve that happiness, to achieve whatever you want. If you're not defining whatever you want to achieve should look like, and you're going after somebody else's vision, guess what? Even when you get there, you will not feel the way you want to feel because you didn't define it. You followed somebody else's blueprint. So it's time to set your own blueprint. And that doesn't just apply to this particular topic of success. This applies to all areas of your life. It's time that you get to say how you want to feel, what you want to experience, how you want to feel when you're experiencing that, how you want to live your life, basically. And as long as you're living life by somebody else's standards, you'll never truly feel fulfilled, because it's not your dream you're living somebody else's dream. Unfortunately, we're very, very conditioned as a society to do that. We follow some very few people's ideas and dreams, and they might be happy with it or not. A lot of what we see is not even authentic or true. So I urge you to be really discerning as well when you go after what you think makes somebody else happy. They might even not be happy with that. But anyway, this is a whole new topic, so I just wanted to bring some more clarity to that first part of this episode. I hope this helped to clear up some confusion and elaborate a little bit more on why it is important to be the creator of your own paradigms. Not just because it's your life, but because it's you who are experiencing the result of those parameters you've set for yourself. So they should actually be in alignment with where you want to go and how you want to feel. All right, I'm going to be wrapping up this podcast here now, and I thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Free, Happy, and Abundant podcast, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now.